If you're starting out filmmaking or you're trying to invest in buying the right monitor, you've probably asked yourself, what is the correct size monitor to get? Viltrox has finally launched a 6-inch monitor, and it's their best monitor yet. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a monitor, and unlike every other monitor that I've reviewed, this one actually comes with a lot in the box. And for the first time ever, it comes with a sunshade that you're actually going to want. Now, this is the Viltrox DC-X2. After some digging, I have found that they do make a DC-X3. Now, the only difference between the DC-X2 and the DC-X3 is that the DC-X3 actually has 2 SDI ports on the back. Other than that, there's no difference between the two monitors except for that SDI port, and obviously you are going to be paying a little bit more if you do want to use SDI. Okay, so let's get into it. What's in the box? Now, the first thing I realized when I got this package was that the box is absolutely massive for a 6-inch monitor. Little did I know that it does come with a carry case. And to be quite honest, these carry cases are pretty handy. It also comes with 2 HDMI cables, one full HDMI and one HDMI to mini HDMI, a USB to USB-C cable. You get a hot shoe monitor mount that has an RE locking pin, really handy. A screen protector with a wipe. I have yet to get a monitor that comes with a screen protector, and I have 7 of them already. Creators actually appreciate this kind of stuff. An NPF 550 battery with 2200 milliamps of juice, and you can charge it via USB-C. And finally, a sunshade hood. And that leads me to the build quality and the ports. I've used my fair share of monitors, and most monitors nowadays are very plasticky, they're very flimsy, and they kind of feel like when you drop them, besides for the screen breaking, the actual shell is just going to disintegrate. New Viltrox DC-X2 does not have that feeling at all. The monitor is definitely made out of some form of metal on the sides as well as the back, and essentially performs as one massive heatsink. Now, the sunshade is plastic, but it's built very well and is very cool. You press this little button at the bottom, and as soon as you lift it up here, so it doesn't automatically pop up, but as soon as you do lift it past a certain point, these side hoods are spring-loaded and they jump into position, building out your sunshade. And the fact that you can just probably makes it the only sunshade you'll ever actually keep on your monitor, because it can go back into the case or back into a bag like this, or if it's on your rig, you're not going to end up bumping it and it's easy to store. Now, when it comes to ports, you have an HDMI in and loop out on the left with a headphone jack for monitoring audio. Now, the loop out is common in monitors like this. This is so that you can attach a Holyland transmitter or a wireless transmitter to your rig and send that video feed somewhere else, maybe to a director's monitor or whatever you need it for. On the top, you have a return button, 4 function buttons, and a power button. Now, the power button, unfortunately, isn't one of those slide buttons, which I do love, but what is really nice is when you do hold in the power button, the top light goes green when it's activated, so you don't have to kind of hold that button and wait for the screen to boot up. As soon as you hold it and the light goes green, you can let it go. Pretty cool. Also, powering the unit off, as soon as you tap it once, it prompts you on the screen with if you want to switch the monitor off or not. On the right, you have a 1/4 screw mount, and at the bottom as well. And both mounts do have the RE pin. So when you do put in your swivel monitor mount, the monitor won't twist like it does on most monitor mounts. At the bottom, you also have a DC in port. Now, it doesn't come with a DC cable, but it does also have a USB-C type port on the bottom. Now, this port allows you to power the monitor only via USB-C. So if you do have one of these modern day V-mount batteries, or you are powering something on your rig that maybe has a power bank, you can actually just power this via USB-C. And USB-C is probably a lot more common to creators nowadays as opposed to DC in, which is great maybe if you're working in a studio and this is set up via mains. Finally, you have a USB-A port slot over here, which allows you to take a normal USB stick and plug it in and do firmware updates, or if you are wanting to upload LUTs to your monitor. The display is touchscreen. It is 6 inches in size, 1920 by 1080, and it can receive a 4K 30p signal. And it's finally a whopping 2000 nits. Now, I think this is Viltrox's first ever ultra bright monitor. They used to have a DC 550 prior to this, which is actually a 5.5 inch. So I don't know if this is really replacing that monitor, but that monitor, if I'm not mistaken, is only 1500 nits. And that extra 500 nits makes a massive difference. I have a 3000 nit OCT7 monitor, which is a massive 7-inch monitor, and I only run that monitor at about power 6 or 7 out of 10, which is also around the 2000 nit mark because it's more than enough for daylight viewing. Now I think the big question is the sunshade really necessary when you're looking at 2000 nits? Check this out. Now by eye it's a lot easier to view than by viewing it over a camera. The sunshade definitely helps with the glare of whatever is behind you, but if you're wondering how bright it is, check out the shutter speed in that shot. You could use this quite comfortably without the sunshade, but if you're really looking for pure color accuracy and you're really finicky, then probably better to use it with the sunshade. Also, it does provide really good protection for the monitor too. Now, for those of you that are wondering, because it is touchscreen, what does the touchscreen feel like? Is it very responsive? Well, yes, it's probably one of the best touchscreens that I've used on a monitor. Is it comparable to, the latest iPhone or Android device? Probably not. Phones nowadays have got insanely fast responsive touchscreens and they're really, really fluid. However, this is more than acceptable and more than ahead of what any other monitor is. So if you do have a monitor that is touchscreen, this is probably going to be better than that anyway. The menu. Now when it comes to a camera monitor's menu, there's certain things that you look for and certain things that you really just couldn't care less about. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take you through all the settings, but I'm going to do it really fast and touch on everything in a very speedy kind of fashion. Firstly, you double tap to access the menu, single tap to remove it. This is so that you don't accidentally tap on the screen whilst using the monitor. Slide up on the screen on the left hand side to raise or lower the volume. Slide up on the right hand side of the screen to raise or lower the brightness. You can also adjust the opacity of the menu, which is pretty cool. Now when it comes to all these features on the menu, you can toggle most of them on and off and even customize some of them. Starting at the first menu item on the left, you have the volume, histogram, vector scope, RGB parade, full waveform, and then you can access your 3D LUT and some LUTs already preloaded in the monitor. Then moving down the menu, you have focus peaking, which can be fully customized in terms of color and percentage. Then you have false color mode 1 and 2, zebras, which can be adjusted from 0 to 100, then your gray, red, green, and blue color. This, which I'm not sure what it does, but it is there. Then you have underscan and overscan, flip horizontal or vertical, auto rotation, picture freeze, which literally freezes that frame you are on, and then camera mode and width mode, which I believe according to Viltrox is more applicable to older cameras, so it's something that I am not experienced with, but they did tell me that it is there for people that do have cameras that need that functionality, whereas if you're using any modern day mirrorless, you probably won't be needing that, but good to know. Next on the left, you have the marker section where you can customize the color and thickness for your aspect ratio, whether you're looking at percentages or actual ratios, and they did include vertical. Thanks Viltrox. Seeing that we have to now make TikToks and Instagram reels to make a living. You have your standard rule of thirds. You also have 1.4 or 2 times up to 18 times punch in to check focus, and I'll get to this in a bit. And then for those of you that aren't shooting Lumix, they do have anamorphic D-squeeze. You have anamorphic D-squeeze from 1.3 times, 1.33, 1.5, 1.6, 1.8, and 2 times. Next, you have your picture color, which has all got to do with your monitor's colors. Now for someone like me, I really appreciate that you can fully customize the color in this monitor, so I can match it to my Lumix screen or to your editing screen. It's really good that they have this, and the customization is insane. You can adjust the contrast, saturation, hue, sharpness, color temperature, and the actual RGB values of the screen. Finally, in the settings, you have the language, fan speed, which you can set to auto, off, low, medium, or high, the volume, OSD, which is your menu opacity, as mentioned, and the time delay to which the menu must disappear without any touch. And then you have the system, which allows you to do updates or resets. And last but not least, the function key. This allows you to easily adjust or toggle on what function 1, 2, or 3 on the top must be. It's so simple, and you're presented with available settings. There is one setting though that I do wish which was on there, and that was that punch in kind of zoom, that you could maybe set F4 to punch in 2 times. That would allow me to just tap, check focus, tap, and you're back to normal. However, what Viltrox does allow is pinch and zoom. So you can actually pinch and just zoom into the screen and out. But that's not always so easy when you do have the sunshade on and you're trying to reach in from an angle. So if Viltrox did allow that, that would be great. Maybe good little feature to add for a future update. So is bigger better? Well, I decided to take a bunch of monitors and put them all side by side and compare them not only on a handheld rig, but also on a gimbal rig. So I took a 5-inch, 5.5 inch, the Viltrox 6-inch and a 7-inch monitor and stacked them all up just so that you can see which one looks better and which is more manageable. The reality is this: on a handheld rig, you can go as big as you want. 7-inch works, 5-inch is just too small, and it's okay to lug around a much larger monitor. On a gimbal, there's a lot of weight already, but 5-inch is too small and 7-inch is a little too big. It often throws off the weight of the rig, not really in terms of size, but also dimension. So honestly, the 6-inch monitor is perfect. The 6-inch monitor is really the only monitor that suits a handheld rig as well as a gimbal rig, and it's still okay to view, still large enough to pull focus and really kind of get your eye in. Now I guess that leaves the real question: would I recommend or use the DC-X2 from Viltrox? That would be a yes. This is a great monitor. I've been using the OCT7 for years, and it's no secret that I've always loved my OCT7. I've often spoken about it in videos that I just find nothing that really competes so well with it. Viltrox has finally stepped up their game, and this is a true competitor to any professional monitor. At 2000 nits, 6 inches, with this type of build quality and only $238, yes, $238 for the whole package that I've shown you, this is pretty unbeatable at this point. I will leave a link in the description where you can head over and pick up the Viltrox DC-X2. Very brave of Viltrox for sending this through, considering I usually run down a lot of monitors because they're all too plasticky and cheap. Thanks for watching, wherever you are in the world. Have a good day, good evening, good night. Goodbye.